Presentation of data depends upon the type of data. There are two broad types of data: qualitative data and quantitative data. Qualitative data is a variable or data which cannot be measured. It is either present or absent in a participant. For example, either a person has tuberculosis or does not have tuberculosis. Second type of data is quantitative data. The variable in this type of data can be measured. Each participant has some value, less or more. For example, weight, height. So this is a variable which is measured in each participant. It has a value. Now qualitative data, which does not have a value, is of two types: nominal and ordinal. Nominal is when the categories, that is present or absent, or blood group A, B, AB or O, are not in particular order or not in any rank. Another example is area of residence of the cases: north, south, east, west part of the city. Second type of qualitative data is ordinal type of qualitative data. The categories are in an order or are ranked. For example, anemia: no anemia, mild anemia, moderate anemia, severe anemia. Anemia is absent, the presence of mild anemia, moderate anemia or severe anemia. So this is an example of ordinal qualitative data. The quantitative data, on the other hand, can be measured in each participant. It can be discrete or continuous. Discrete quantitative data is when the value of the variable is counted in whole numbers. For example, number of children or number of family members. Continuous quantitative data is when there is a continuous scale and the participants can have a value which can be a fraction also. For example, height of 161.6 centimeter. Presentation of data is in two forms. One is tabular presentation of data and second is graphical presentation of data. The tabular presentation of data means making tables. The tables can be simple tables or complex tables. The graphical presentation of data depends upon the type of data, whether qualitative or quantitative. For qualitative data, we have bar charts, pictogram, pie chart, map diagram, etc. We will discuss them. For graphical presentation of quantitative data, we have histogram, frequency polygon, frequency curve, normal distribution curve, line chart, cumulative distribution curve, scatter diagram, etc. Tabulation is the first step before the raw data can be used for analysis or interpretation. A table can be simple or complex depending upon whether a single set is represented or multiple set of items are represented. There are certain principles which should be remembered while designing tables. The tables should have numbers. Tables should be numbered. A title must be given to each table. The title must be self-explanatory yet brief. The headings of columns and rows should be clear and concise. The data must be presented in some order. Can be in order of size, importance, chronological, alphabetically or geographically. If percentages or averages are to be compared, then these columns should be placed as close as possible. The table should not be too large and a vertical arrangement of the comparable cells are more convenient to the reader. Footnotes may be added if any further explanation is required or any additional information needs to be given. This is an example of a simple table of qualitative variable. This shows population of some states in 2011. This is a simple table. These are the qualitative variables, the characteristic or attribute of variable. These are the frequencies, that is the total number of individuals falling in each category or belonging to each item. The table has been given a number, table 1A. The table has a title which is concise and self-explanatory. It says population of some states of India in 2011. These are the headings of columns. Columns are upside down, and rows which are horizontal. These are clear and concise. The data is presented in the order of population size, and some additional information has been provided in the footnote. This provides the source of this table. This is an example of a complex table of qualitative data, also known as multidimensional tables. The tabulation of quantitative variable is more cumbersome because the characteristic or the variable itself has a magnitude which is measurable, and it in addition has a frequency, that is the number of persons which have each measure. For example, X number of people having a height of 160 centimeter, 10 people having a weight of 50 kgs, 10 people having pulse rate of 75. So in case of quantitative variable, the variable itself can be divided into class intervals with frequency mentioned against each class interval, also known as group interval. Frequency will include all the persons which have a value of the attribute which falls within the two ranges of the class interval, the upper and the lower limit of the class interval. How to calculate class intervals from raw data? First we calculate the range, that is highest value minus the lowest value. Divide this range into sub-ranges depending upon the data, and these sub-ranges are known as class intervals or group intervals. The class intervals should be equal. The frequency is then counted for each class interval and noted down against the class interval column. This is called the class frequency. If the upper limit of class intervals coincides with the lower limit of the next class interval, then the person who is having the attribute of should be counted in the upper class or upper group. An example of construction of a table of quantitative variable. Following are the pulse rates of 20 women. This is the simple table with each pulse rate and number of individuals having that pulse rate. We calculate the range, that is the highest limit of 99 beats per minute minus 51 beats per minute, and the range is counted to be 48 beats per minute. The selected interval size is 10 beats per minute. The interval size is dictated by the type of data. So how many classes we will have? 48, the range divided by the size of class gives 4.8, rounded out to 5 classes. So we will have 5 class intervals. In this table we have 5 class intervals with the frequency counted and noted down in the column of frequency. Then we place the title. This table is known as frequency distribution table. Rules for making a frequency distribution table. The class intervals should not be too broad or too narrow, because too large groups will omit the details and too small groups will defeat the purpose of making the data concise in class intervals. Sometimes the class intervals are ready-made and may have to be used as such. For example, age groups as used by the census of data. Another example is family income slabs as given in modified Kupusovin classification for socioeconomic status. The number of groups should not be too many or too few. On an average, 6 to 60 classes are optimum. The class intervals should be equal throughout. The headings must be clear and the units of data should be mentioned. The groups should be presented in either ascending or descending order. The table should be numbered. The table must have a clear, concise, self-explanatory title. That was tabular presentation. Then the pictorial presentation of data in forms of charts and diagrams. The purpose of pictorial presentation of data is to give a quick visual impression to the common person, because general population can easily understand the visual presentations because they have a striking impact. On the other hand, tables can be boring and difficult to perceive by the general population. The graphical presentation, that is a pictorial presentation, conveys the essence of the statistical data and omits the details. And for this very purpose, the data presented through diagrams must be simple, because complicated charts will fail to convey the message and beat the purpose of these drawings. Hence, a lot of details, statistical details of the original data, have to be sacrificed for preparing charts and diagrams. It is of utmost importance that visual presentations are produced correctly, and this can be done using appropriate scales. Otherwise, distortion of data may occur and the resulting visualization of the statistical information will be misleading. Remember that if you are using computers to generate the diagrams, then you have to see to it whether the scale used is proper, whether the particular diagram is suitable for the type of data that you want to present or not, because the computer will somehow produce the diagram that you ask it to produce, whether it is suitable for your type of data or not. So it is you who have to take the decision and tell the computers to produce the diagram. It is better to try out the presentations of charts and graphs in front of colleagues first to detect any misinterpretations. Graphs, charts and diagrams should be self-explanatory, and the reader should be able to understand them without any detailed reference to the text or your informing them. The title should be informative, the axis of the graph should be clearly labeled, and the key should be placed if it is required. Graphic representation of qualitative data. The most commonly used graphic representation for qualitative data are the bar charts. So, bar graph is for representing qualitative data. They enable visual comparison of frequencies in the categories, and this is done because the length of each bar is proportional to the frequency of that category. Hence, a suitable scale is to be used, and the same scale is to be used for all categories. Bars can be vertical or horizontal, but all the bars in a graph should be of same width, and the bars must be separated by appropriate spaces for clarity. It has been suggested that the spacing between two bars should be half of the width of the bars or more. Bars should preferably be arranged in increasing or decreasing order, or in an order that suits the context, for example chronological order. Types of bar charts. 3 types of bar charts are commonly used. Simple bar chart, that's the what we discussed in the previous slide. Multiple bar charts, where 2 or more bar charts are grouped together. We will see in shortly. Component bar chart or proportional bar chart. The individual bars are subdivided into 2 or more parts depending upon the number of subgroups, and the length of each subpart is in proportion to its magnitude within each category. This is a simple bar chart, can be vertical or horizontal. We can see it has been, the lengths are proportional to the frequency, and the title has been given, that bar diagram showing place of origin of 500 hostelers. This is multiple bar chart, bar diagram showing places of origin of 500 hostelers, each in hostel A and hostel B. So the bar chart of hostel A in blue color and the bar chart of hostel B in red color have been combined in a single bar chart. This is multiple bar chart. We can combine more than 2 also. Component bar chart. We can see that each bar represents the number of participants from that city X, Y and Z, and within the number of participants we have subgroups of blood group. The length of each color or each blood group is proportional to the frequency, number of participants which have that blood group. The key is placed on the right, that is the color coding. The next popular graphical representation of qualitative data is a pie diagram. It is a diagram for representing qualitative data, the data is represented in the form of a circle. The circle is divided into sectors or slices such that each sector represents the corresponding proportion or percentage of the total. That is, the relative frequencies are depicted as sectors. The size of each sector is proportional to the relative frequency of the variable. The purpose of a pie diagram is easy visual comparison of the composition of the data, that is, proportion of each variable in the total data. Pie diagram is only suitable when the number of categories is small. Overcrowding of categories is again very confusing. The variable is qualitative and the responses are mutually exclusive. That is, a participant belonging to one category should not feature in any of the remaining categories, so that the frequency of each group can be added to get the total number of observations. That is, the responses are mutually exclusive. The sectors should be arranged clockwise in a descending order. Now we have qualitative data with mutually exclusive categories. So how do we proceed on to make a pie diagram? Calculate pie chart proportions. That is, calculate each frequency as the proportion of the total. Then calculate the angle for each category. The formula is the proportion into 360 degrees. So we have proportion 1, proportion 2 and each multiplied by 360 degrees, and we have the angle for each category. Draw a circle. Draw a radius of the circle. Place the protractor on this radius. Plot a point on the circle at the first calculated angle. Join this point with the center of the circle. The first sector is obtained and so is a new radius. Place the protractor on this new radius and plot a point on the circle at the next calculated angle. So by repeating this for each category, we get a new section each time and a new radius. So we rotate the protractor accordingly. Once we obtain a pie chart, color each segment differently and make a color code key and mention the frequencies and percentages on each sector. This is an example. A table is there with 4 blood groups. Number of study subjects belonging to each blood group have been mentioned in column 2. They total up to 138. This is mutually exclusive. That is, one who has blood group O cannot have A cannot have B. So none of the subjects can appear in more than one category. This is known as mutually exclusive. Third column, the proportion of each category in comparison to the total has been calculated. For example, 82 divided by 138, which is the total, comes out to be 0.6 of the total. Then this 0.6 is multiplied by 360 in the fourth column and we obtain that the first sector should be of 214 degree. Similarly, angles have been calculated for all the 4 categories and the pie chart obtained. We can see the largest category is of blood group O and the percentage has been mentioned. Ideally, the number should also be mentioned alongside with percentage in brackets. A color key can be seen which is placed superior to the circle and the title has been given. Distribution of study subjects according to the blood group. Capital N means total is 138. Pictogram is another method for presenting qualitative data to the common man. It is a visually engaging way to present qualitative information to the man in the street or the common man who finds it difficult to comprehend complex charts. Small pictures or symbols are used to present the data. The number of pictures is proportional to the frequency of that category. One picture depicts a fixed number. A fraction of a picture can be used to represent a smaller number. Pictograms are not effective for visualizing large sets of data. As in these cases, if there are large sets of data to be represented pictorially, bar chart is more effective. This is an example of a pictogram. Pictogram depicting the population of 5 cities, city A, B, C and D, D and E. Each picture represents 10 lakh people, and we can see that city B has half a figure, almost half a figure at the end, and city E has almost 3/4 of a figure at the end. So it is more or less approximation of the frequency. Hence it is meant for the common man and not for the statistically minded people. Another popular method of representing qualitative data is spot map. Spot map is useful for in different circumstances. In this, the geographical map of the relevant place is obtained and dots are placed. The number of dots represent the frequency and one dot represents a fixed number again. So a common man can quickly assess the density of cases or the relevant information in the geographical map at visually. And now pictorial presentation of quantitative data. The most commonly pictorial representation of quantitative data is a histogram. Histogram is a pictorial diagram of frequency distribution of the quantitative data. It consists of a series of rectangular and contiguous blocks. The class intervals of the quantitative data variable are represented along the horizontal axis, and hence each class interval is represented by the width of the column. And the frequency of each class interval is represented along the vertical axis and is represented by the length of the column for each category, for each class interval. The columns are touching each other without space because the class intervals are continuous, so they cannot have a break between. It is the area of each column which depicts the frequency. Hence, if there is a need to combine any 2 or 3 class intervals, in this case let's say the last 3 intervals, the width will be 3 times the other classes, and the frequency of each fuse interval is to be added up and then divided by 3 to derive the average frequency, and this average frequency is then plotted in the last fuse column. This is done to keep the area of the fuse column proportionate to its frequency and representative of the number of people in these 3 classes. This is an example of a histogram showing frequency distribution of diastolic pressure in females of the study population. The class intervals of diastolic blood pressure are represented on the horizontal axis. The number of people in each class are represented on the vertical axis. The width of each column represents the size of the class interval, and the length of each column represents the number of people, that is the frequency of that class interval. As each class interval is equal in this case, so simply altering the length would change the area according to the frequency. Now we deal with the case of fusing 2 or 3 class intervals. This is a histogram that we showed previously, and on the right side is the histogram which results after fusing the last 3 classes. The frequencies of the 3 classes added up and divided by 3, that is the height of the last column, and the width of the last column is 3 times the others because it has clubbed 3 class intervals. So from, let's say, 100 to 140, from 110 to 140 becomes 1 class interval, and the frequency is average of the 3. Frequency polygon is another way of representing the frequency distribution of quantitative data. Frequency polygon is obtained by joining the midpoints of the histogram block. So we have to anyway make a histogram first and then join the midpoints. So frequency polygon is developed over a histogram. So what is the use? It is a frequency polygon can be used for illustrating the quantitative data different sets on the same diagram. For example, birth rates of some countries as well as death rates of the same countries. Example, this is a histogram depicting diastolic BP and the number of people on the vertical axis. We join the midpoints of each column and we obtain a frequency polygon. Now we have obtained a frequency polygon because we also want to depict the diastolic BP among males on the same chart, so that there is a visual comparison between the distribution of BP in males and females. So on the same chart we make histograms again and then join the midpoints for males, and we have obtained another frequency polygon for males, and we place the key on the side. Frequency curve is another frequency polygon, provided there is a huge number of observations. The number of observations is huge, and the histogram is then reconstructed using reduced class intervals, small class intervals. Then when we join the midpoints, the resulting frequency polygon is less angular and more smooth. This is known as the frequency curve. The most known type of frequency curve is the normal curve. This is the histogram showing diastolic BP. The people are thousands, each column represents thousands, people in thousands. Now it is reconstructed using smaller class intervals, and when we join the midpoints of these, we obtain a frequency curve. Line diagram. Now the main use of line diagram is to show the variation of the quantitative variable with time. That is to demonstrate the time trend of the event. For example, the birth rate variation over decades, or number of malaria cases according to the month, infant mortality rate with each year. So basically a line diagram is a frequency polygon in which the class intervals are in terms of time. The class intervals may be in months, 1 month, or years, or 1 decade, depending upon the data that we want to represent. Depending upon the trend, we want to show monthly trend or yearly trend or decadal growth, something. The time interval, class interval will vary according to that. This figure is showing variation of number of measles cases each month. A line diagram can be used for comparing two different diseases. For example, number of cases of diarrhea each month of a given year with the number of cases of measles with month in the same year. Scatter diagram. It's a graphical representation to show the status of correlation between two quantitative variables. For example, the height is plotted on the x-axis for a person and the weight of the same person is plotted on the y-axis. A perpendicular is drawn from both the points, and at the point where the perpendiculars cross each other, a dot is noted. The above steps are repeated for each subject and we get a set of dots. If these dots tend to concentrate around a straight line, it indicates a correlation, some degree of correlation between the two quantitative variables. This is an example. Average time of exercise per day is plotted on the horizontal axis, and the diastolic BP in millimeter of mercury is plotted on the vertical axis. The first person spends around 15 minutes per day for exercise and records a diastolic BP of 100 millimeter of mercury. The perpendiculars meet at a point and a dot is placed here. The second person spends around 29 minutes and diastolic BP of 85, and we plot the dot for him. Similarly, more dots are placed for every person and we get a scatter diagram. Here we see that the dots tend to concentrate around a straight line going downwards. So this shows negative correlation between diastolic BP and average time of exercise per day. So as the time with the spent on exercise is increasing, there is a tendency for the diastolic BP to be lower. This is another scatter diagram where the body temperature in degree Fahrenheit is represented on the horizontal axis and the pulse rate of the same subject on the vertical axis. We get a number of dots. Now it is showing some pattern, and it is seems to be concentrated on a line, straight line, which is going up. So this shows a positive correlation between pulse rate and body temperature. That is, pulse rate tends to increase with increase in body temperature.